going on, good people? How are you today? Welcome back to my channel. So I decided to do a story time. I have not done one. I've done one on this channel years ago. I might actually repost that video. This was years ago. But yeah, I haven't done one in a long time. So I say, you know what? Let's do something. Let's just get out of the regular wig, makeup stuff. Let's talk about something else. All right, so this is a story time. This happened to me over 20 years ago. That's how long ago it was. And this was the time I dated a drug dealer. Okay. All right, so this story starts in St. Thomas. You guys know I'm from the Virgin Islands. So it was before I moved to Georgia. So a year before I moved to Georgia, actually. So how it all started was I went out with my girls. And I was feeling a little, you know, we went out every weekend, but I was feeling a little perturbed this weekend. I was in an off and on relationship with this guy, and at the moment we were off, and he was pissing me the hell off. So I went to the club with my friends as I normally did, and I was at the bar kind of drowning my sorrows in liquor, but this guy walked up to me, and I won't say his name. I need to give him a fake name. Okay? Craig. Alright, so this guy walks up to me, Craig, introduces himself. He compliments me on my glasses. I normally did not wear my glasses to the club, but that night I couldn't see, so I wore my glasses. He complimented me on my glasses, and he basically wanted to give me his phone number. And, well, no, he wanted to exchange numbers. At first, I was like, he was a little shorter than me. He was Puerto Rican, but he was shorter. And I was like, I don't know, but he was cute. So I was like, I don't know. I mean, whatever. So I gave him my number. He gave me his. I still have his number on this piece of paper. Okay? Still have it after 20 years. But anyways, he gave me his number. And the next day, he called me. We started talking on the phone. He told me he had a girlfriend. And they have kids. They had 4 kids. Now, he was 21. I was 20. So 4 kids at 21, that is a lot. But he told me he had a girlfriend. He was very upfront about it. And honestly, I didn't really mind, because I didn't have a problem with just being friends, you know, kicking it, whatever. I didn't have a problem with doing that. Now at 21, 20, that seems to be just like, at 40, that seems to be the dumbest thing I thought of at 20. But I was 20. I didn't know shit. But anyways, so we started talking on the phone and everything like that. And I asked him what he did. And he told me that he was not very shy about it. He told me that he was a street pharmacist. He told me that he had came out of prison 2 weeks prior to meeting me. Yeah, so I was like, what the fuck? Oh, okay. So, but he seemed like a nice person, so I continued speaking to him. We were talking on the phone. We did meet up one day, and saying it out loud now at 40 seems ridiculous. But when I met up with him, I met him at the trap house. Oh my God. I hope my mother isn't watching this. But I met him at his trap house. So we started talking and all that, and then one night, it was like a weekend, and one night I started getting a lot of calls to my house phone. This was back then when you had a house phone, and the person would call and hang up. My grandmother was that type of grandmother that always, even though she was asleep, she was still awake. So any little noise or the phone rang, she would be answering. She would be getting up, checking to see who's still up in the house. That was my granny. So the phone kept ringing, and my granny kept answering, but the person would hang up. And I kept answering, like, because I was calling him one night, and I was thinking that he was calling me back, but the person kept hanging up. Come to find out, it was his girlfriend. So his girlfriend found out about me, well, the person of me, and just kept calling my house. So the next day she called my house and asked to speak to my mother. Now, she thought my mom was the person he was seeing. A lot of people don't know my mom is my mother. My mom looks fairly young, so people think that she's younger than what she really is, and they have no clue or concept about me. I'm more quiet, I'm more reserved. People didn't know me, okay? People didn't know me, but my mom was popular, so a lot of people knew her. So she thought my mom was the person that he was seeing. So I gave my mom a small rundown and told her what was going on. The girl called the house. My mom cussed her out, okay? So my mom was a real G for that one. But my mom cussed her out. So I called him and I told him, like, your girlfriend is calling my house. I don't do all of that, okay? You and I are cool. If she has a problem, if this is a problem, we don't have to, kick it or whatever. He told me she would never call my house again. She never called my house again. I don't know I don't know what happened, what he did, what he said. I don't know. The girl never called my house again. So him and I started seeing each other more. I introduced him to my mother. I took him to her job and everything, and her coworkers knew of him. Well, they knew him. He apparently was very popular in the criminal world, and I didn't know. So I had some of her coworkers, some of her friends kind of warned me about him and told me, I should not, be around him, stay away from him, all of that. I'm 20 years old though. I think I'm grown. I know what I'm doing. So I have this thing where if I'm nervous about something, I have to kind of face my fear. And by people telling me negative things, I started getting scared because I am not the type to flirt with any type of danger. That's not me. I don't do that. So I kind of turn things around in order to not fear them. So I started to get kind of nervous being around him, and I decided to, I don't know why I do this, but I started kind of being a stern bitch, and subsequently it worked out in my favor. I was always the shy, reserved person, didn't really raise my voice, didn't really, seek confrontation. I don't do that. I still don't do that. But there was a point when I turned like 19, 20, because of situations that were happening in my life. I had to grow a backbone and I had to stand up for myself. And in doing so, I actually turned it into being a bitch. And that was the way I was able to cope with certain situations. And I started doing that with him. I wasn't like nasty or nothing, but I was very stern in how I approached him. And he actually liked that. So we started seeing a lot more of each other. We started, going on drives. I mean, it's a 32 square mile island. Ain't much you could do. But because he had a girlfriend, I didn't want to be seen out with him. Especially the fact that he was a drug dealer. I did not want to be associated with him. He knew that. It was an understanding. I told him, I do not want to know your drug stuff. Do not involve me. Don't tell me no stories. Don't put me around people. I don't want to know that. I want to know you as Craig, and that's it. He would he would bring me lunch to work. We would meet up, have lunch. We would drive, music. We were together all the time. It got to the point where I realized that I was not okay with him going home to his girlfriend every night. Like, it got to the point where I realized that I was actually falling for him in that way. I tried to put my feelings to the point where, he got a woman, we just kicking it. He's spending his money on me. We hanging out, we having a good time, really having really deep conversations. He's telling me that he no longer wants to do what he's doing. He wants to live right, but it's kind of hard because he's a felon and he doesn't have a skill. He doesn't have any type of skills because he's been selling drugs majority of his teenage adult life, and he doesn't know anything else, and nobody would want to hire him. So he talked about that a lot, and he also talked about he felt like there were people out there trying to kill him, and he felt like he was going to die at the hands of a friend. He always told me that. So as we got closer, I started getting a little more possessive about him going home to his girlfriend and everything like that. And I remember one time I saw a hickey on his neck and I got pissed. We're in my car, and I saw the hickey. He was trying to hide it. I saw the hickey and I went bananas. I went nuts. I kicked him out my car. He was halfway out the car, but he was still holding on to the door. I drove off. And I'm driving and he's holding onto this door as I'm driving. I'm like, dude, get off my car, whatever. I got so upset. So, but he started telling me, oh, I want to be with you and I want to start a life with you and all that. And I'm young and I'm starting to really fall for this dude, and we're together all the time. It's been months past. We're always together. And, you know, we couldn't be, like, I couldn't bring him back to my house because I was living at home with my family. He was living with her. He rented out a room in a hotel, and that was our standing, like, situation. We would always meet up at this room, and that's where we would sleep, chill, whatever the case, eat, whatever. Okay, so I was thinking about coming to Georgia to visit one of my friends, and this would have been my second time coming to Georgia, and he wanted to come along, so we decided that we were gonna come. We were gonna get some buddy passes. Back then, when there were the paper passes, we were supposed to get some of those, come to Georgia for a week. So he was supposed to get the passes. I was supposed to come up here. We were supposed to just enjoy the time. Day before the trip, I'm calling him to find out if he got the passes. I can't get him. I'm like, where the hell is this dude? I'm calling. Now I'm packing because my family knows I'm supposed to go to Georgia. They didn't know I was supposed to go with him. So, but I forgot to say, at this time, my mom is like very adamant that she does not want me around this dude, to the point where my mom stopped talking to me for like 2 or 3 months. My mom wouldn't talk to me because I was doing what I was doing. But at the end of the day, I was an adult. So you tell me don't do something, I'm gonna do it. So, but I'm calling him, can't get him. I'm going around his spots, the trap house, the other trap house by his friend's house that he played dominoes. I would go all around, driving around this island, 12 o'clock at night, trying to find this man. Can't find him. His phone is like going to voicemail. I don't know where he's at. So I'm getting like really pissed off because I'm supposed to be flying out. Now I have to figure out what to tell my family the reason why I'm not going on this trip. Because I don't have a flight. I don't have a buddy pass. I don't have anything. So I decided to tell them that I had a buddy pass in my glove compartment in my car, but now I can't find it. So I can't go. That was my excuse that I came up with. So the next day, I went back to where his friend lived, and I see his car driving down the street. So I speed up and I honked my horn, and he pulled over. So I got out, he got out. I'm like, where the fuck were you? I was calling you, whatever. I was cussing up a storm. He was just standing there, just like with this blank look on his face. I'm like, what the fuck? He said he was out all night. I said, doing what? I've been calling you. Where the fuck were you? This man proceeded to open his trunk, and I see this dude tied, mouth gagged, and he had something covering his eyes. After that shit, that scared me straight. I was like, what the fuck? He said that the dude owed him money and he had the dude all night, and that's why he didn't answer me. He can't go to Georgia with me. When I saw that, I was like, all right, I'm going home. So I went home. I was like, yo, this is a little too much for me. I am not part of this life. I don't want to be the drug dealer's girlfriend no more. I'm done. A couple days later, I finally spoke to him and I ended the relationship. I broke up with him. I was like, I can't do this. This is just too much. This is not in my wheelhouse. I can't do this. Broke off the relationship. So probably a a week later, he called me. He told me that his grandfather passed away. And when he went to the funeral, it was this whole situation, and he found out that his father, the man that he knew was his father, was not his father. So I'm like, and he's on the phone crying, and I'm stern. I'm the bitch. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry to hear that, but there's no reason for you to be calling me. Like, don't ever call me again. I don't want to have nothing to do with you. You know, get out of my life. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. And I hung up. And to me, that was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. So fast forward to a week later. It's Carnival. And we have Carnival in April. And this is the reason why I'm telling this, because this is around the time when all of this happened. So having Carnival, it's Carnival in April. And I remember I went to pick up my little brother from school. And we were on the waterfront. I remember this like it was yesterday. We're on the waterfront. I'm in my car. I'm in traffic. And I see Craig parking his car. And he was in the car with a friend of his. And they were walking into this shopping plaza. So I just started honking the horn trying to get his attention. But the island is packed with people because it's Carnival, traffic, noise. He couldn't hear me. So I made some sort of U-turn some way, and I parked my car, and I went into the plaza to try to find where he could have gone, because I wanted to talk to him. Couldn't find him or anything like that. So I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have tried to talk to him anyway. So later on that night, I was going out to the Carnival Village with my friends, and I decided to call him. And I was calling him, and my excuse was I wanted my CDs back, because he had my CDs in his car. That was the excuse to see him. So I'm calling him all night. I can't get him. And I got home. I had a cell phone at the time. So yeah, I was calling him on his cell phone. I couldn't get him. I got home. I was calling him, couldn't get him. Went to sleep, woke up, back calling him on the house phone, on my cell phone, couldn't get him. The phone started going straight to voicemail. So I'm like, I don't know why he's not answering the phone. He's probably still mad at me. Hang up the house phone. The house phone rings. It's my brother's friend. May he rest in peace. He passed away. He called to speak to my brother. So I told my brother, when you're done with the phone, give me the phone because I'm trying to call Craig. He was like, okay, bet. So my brother hangs up the phone, comes to hand me the phone, and he said that his friend told him that Craig is dead. That they found his body, and it's on the newspaper, in front of the newspaper. So I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? Because I was just trying to call him. What are you talking about? He said, yeah, he's in the newspaper. He's in the newspaper. So I'm like, I'm still in my bedclothes, and I put on some shoes, and I jumped in my car, and I went to the nearest store, and I got the newspaper, and I saw his car, the car that we always would ride in, on the front of the paper. And I immediately like collapsed, because I was calling this man all night, all morning, and he was laying there dying. Apparently he was murdered, execution style. And I just couldn't make heads or tails of the whole thing. I was confused. I was shocked. I was in disbelief. I was everything. You know, after that, it was like I was living in a daze. I didn't speak for a while. I always listened to one specific song. I always had my CD player on, and I was listening to one specific song, and I was listening to a change, what's the song? A Change Gonna Come. And I wasn't speaking to anybody. I wasn't hanging out with my friends. I was at home. I was going through depression. I was going through depression so bad that my friend Chanel suggested I see a therapist, because I wasn't talking. I would go to work, I won't speak. I would go home, I won't speak. I would just listen to this specific song. And the reason I listened to this specific song is because we would be in a car. This song was on the Capone Noriega CD. Carl Thomas sang the remake of this song. And he loved the CD, but he hated that song. And I love that song because I like old school 60s, 50s, 70s. Like, that's my genre. That's what I listen to. And I love that song. And he always told me he hates when I play this song because this song reminds him of death. And he did not like that song. But I loved it, so I kept playing it. So after he died, I played that song morning, noon, and night. That's all I listened to. I cried. That's it. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I wouldn't talk to my mom, my brothers, my sister, my granny. I wouldn't talk to nobody. I was going through major depression. My friend suggested that I see a therapist. I did go to a therapist, and I never went back because the therapist made me cry, and I don't like crying in public. I felt back then, I felt like it was a sign of weakness for me, for anybody to see me cry. I never cried in front of people. So that was kind of like a bust. As far as the funeral, I did not go to, no, I wasn't going to the funeral because it was supposed to be a private funeral, but I wanted to pay my respects and really say my goodbyes. But I was kind of afraid to go to the funeral because of the girlfriend. So my friend and I went anyway, and it was packed. It was packed funeral. It was in the funeral home, and I didn't go up to the casket or anything, so I didn't see him because I heard that they kind of mutilated him. I don't know how true that was, but I saw this man who was sitting in the corner, and the man kept looking at me. And the man looked exactly like him. Like, exactly. Just older. And I saw this man, and I had to run out of the viewing. I had to run out of there, and my friend ran out after me, and I said, I gotta go. I was hyperventilating. It was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. And I still have the newspaper clippings of the that day in the newspaper. I still have them. I still have them. April 27th, 2001. I still have them. It was very hard. It was very hard. And then I started thinking, actually I moved to Georgia. I moved a couple months later, and I started thinking, what if he faked his death and he moved to Georgia, and you know, maybe he's here and I have to find him. It was very hard for me to come to grips with him dying, especially the fact that the last words I told him was that I hate him and I never wanted to talk to him again. That was something that I regret to this day, because I didn't hate him. I was just afraid of how close I was getting to him and how he was living his life. But he always told me that this was not something that he wanted to do. But he just, I mean, he was a victim of circumstance. He was a victim of his environment. And he always told me, our friend, he feels like somebody close to him is going to do it. And the last person I saw him with was a friend. So I don't know. And it was the same day. So I don't know if that friend was a person. I don't know what happened. I don't know. And then I started thinking, like, what if I was in that car that night? What if, you know, I could have been murdered as well? Like, somebody, who was it? I think it was my mom. My mom said, what if you were with him and it happened to you? So it definitely was an eye-opener for me. It was a very hard time in my life. And after I moved to Georgia, I was like, I was never going to do that again. Like, I can't deal with death like that. And I can't. That was the first person I ever was romantically involved with that ever passed away, and it fucked me up. And I said, I can never do that again. And yeah, it was hard. It was hard. But that was the time that I dated a drug dealer. May he rest in peace. But yeah, that is my story time. I was trying not to cry, so I didn't cry. I got a little choked up, but I didn't cry, so that's good. But it has been almost 19 years in a few days. It will be 19 years since he passed away. And everybody kept saying, how could you date somebody like that? You know, he was scary to a lot of people. How could you date somebody like that? And the person that they would you know, say like he's this type of person. That was not the person that I knew. He was sweet. He was sweet. He was very subservient to me. He was a very sweet person, very sweet, and I wish that a lot of people knew that about him. He would give you the shirt off his back. He was a kind person. His circumstances, his life upbringing just made him hard. And that's what happens to a lot of people who grow up in an environment where the odds are kind of against them. So that is my story time, y'all. God, I'm out of breath. I'm tired. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the story. It was a little sad, but you know, I never dated a drug dealer after that again. So I guess there was some good things that come out of it. I learned to, I don't know. But anyways, that was my story time. I hope you enjoyed it. And I probably will want to do more story times. I have a lot of dating story times. So if you want to hear more story times from me, probably something less sad, let me know down below. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.